Okay, so I've always wanted to try out 2 different style of beef rib cooking. We have on this side, we're gonna make American style classic smoked beef ribs. And on this side, I'm gonna make South American style beef ribs that are cooked way different. Let's dive into it, talk about the differences, and see which one is better. Okay, so first off, let's talk about what we have here. I have 2 beef plate ribs. These guys are either 3 or 4 bone. It doesn't look like a lot of meat, but these guys are gonna shrink up on the smoker or on the fire pit, and they're gonna be super juicy. I don't recommend cooking these guys medium rare like you would traditional beef because there's so much fat in them, and the muscle, it needs time to break down. Let's talk about some differences. So let's start with American. American style beef ribs are usually smoked low and slow. Today we're gonna cook these guys on my smoker, and we're just gonna keep them pretty simple. The biggest key for trimming here is I really just wanna take off any of this weird silver skin or excess fat. Get yourself a really sharp knife. I'm no butcher. I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm perfect. You do not need to be perfect. If you take off a little bit of meat, it's not the end of the world. But the key is making sure that you have a really sharp knife, because at the end of the day, sharp knife is better than a dull knife. I like to take the top fat cap and all that kind of stuff off because it just cleans up the meat. It makes it a little easier to cook, and it gets the most seasoning on it, which is what we're really looking for. American style beef ribs, they're all about that seasoning and the smoke flavor. So you really just wanna make sure that you get them well trimmed, get all that like extra gunk off of it, and keep it extremely simple. Now, you could trim this guy up even more, but I'm gonna keep it pretty simple and just call it a day right here. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil as a binder. You can use yellow mustard if you want to as well. You're not really gonna taste it. It's just to help the seasoning stick. And then I'm gonna use Spiceology's salt, pepper, garlic. This is just a classic American style way. Get a good coating on it, and then make sure to get all the sides. If you're familiar with pork ribs, you'll know that the membrane is on the bottom. We don't want to take it off. Beef membrane is not the same as pork membrane. So we're gonna leave this guy on here. It's gonna keep it all together, or else it might kind of like shrink and deform it. It's not gonna be as good. So we have the American style beef plate ribs ready to go. I'm gonna throw this on the smoker right now, and then we're gonna work on the South American. Okay, so for the South American style, we don't do anything, and that's what I love about it. Keep everything on the outside, it doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of oil and some seasoning, and we're gonna call it a day. You can use your favorite beef rub. I'm using my new cowboy butter seasoning. This guy is incredible. It works on everything, especially beef. If you wanna keep it simple, you could use salt, pepper, garlic, whatever you like. I don't recommend sugar with beef. I wouldn't recommend like a traditional barbecue seasoning, but a beef rub would work excellent. All right, so we got this guy seasoned up. We're gonna let it sit to the side. I'm gonna preheat my fire grill, and then we're gonna start cooking this guy. Okay, so I have my brand new fire grill. It's a Santa Maria. It is going to mimic South American style of cooking because we can raise and lower the grill grates. I have my lump charcoal in here. So I'm gonna add this into the center, and we're gonna slowly cook this beef rib. Dump in the lump charcoal. I have it in between my charcoal dividers because I really don't need the extra charcoal setting aside and cooling off the grill, so it's all centered right here. I'm gonna drop this grill grate down so we can preheat. So we're gonna let these charcoal come up to temp, and then we'll be right back. So I have this massive beef rib, and we're just gonna sear off everything. This is gonna take a couple of minutes. It's a lot like what we would do for braising, where you're trying to get like that beautiful outside coloring. I'm gonna sear off all the individual sides, and then we're just gonna wrap it up in foil. While this is searing, let's work on a chimichurri. So I'm gonna teach you how to make my chimichurri. To all the South Americans out there, I apologize. I do things a little different. Don't get mad at me, but you're more than welcome to. I can't control your emotions, but the way I make it is better. Okay. That'll piss a lot of people off. I keep it super simple, but there are 2 things that I do different from traditional chimichurri. I don't believe in using oregano. Oregano just adds way too much powerful flavor. The second thing I do is I do more red wine vinegar to olive oil than traditional. A lot of people use just a little bit of red wine vinegar and then add most of the olive oil. I don't believe in that. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna smash my garlic cloves. If you don't have time for this, you can get jarlic, which is the stuff that you get pre-minced. But in my personal opinion, I think that chopping it up makes the chimney look better. So smash it down. That's just gonna help us chop it a little bit quicker. I don't believe in separating stems are taking it off, I just pull it right off. That's just what I do. If you wanna just get the leaves of your parsley, you're more than welcome to. I added some parsley on top of the garlic because I already started the mincing process. We can mince everything together. You're more than welcome to use curly or flat leaf. I think at the grocery store we only had curly today. I traditionally prefer flat leaf. Mix this all together, and then I'm gonna add this into my bowl and start adding the rest of the ingredients. What do you think, Cody? My dogs are crazy. Also, I'm not the one that put them in hoodies. They look cute though. Now, I add some red chili flakes. You're more than welcome to just add like fresh red chilies. Add a little bit of salt, and then our red wine vinegar. I usually just season with the heart, but I kind of go until I start seeing the red wine vinegar pool underneath, or I run out of a bottle. I'm gonna add my olive oil. Let's check on the beef rib. Look at that. That's not burnt, it's charred. All right, so we're gonna char all the outsides, and let's keep working on the chimney. I will add a little bit more salt, maybe even some pepper. If you want to switch up your chimichurri, even though I wouldn't say it's traditional chimichurri, you can add some cilantro or green onions or chives, like kind of add some more herbaceous flavor in there. But overall, this is how I make my traditional chimichurri. Mamma mia. This guy's done. Set it to the side, and let's keep working on the beef rib. All right, so we got this guy charred. It's looking good. I'm gonna pull this off, and we're gonna wrap him up. I have foil down. I'm gonna add my garlic herb rub. This is very similar to chimichurri. It just doesn't have any red wine vinegar, and it has a few other things added to it. I'm gonna add this guy on, but you're more than welcome to add some of the chimichurri that we just made. This is just gonna add a little bit of an herbaceous kind of flavor onto the ribs, give it even more flavor. Then I have a little bit of olive oil. Just really coat the ribs on because this is gonna be cooking over the fire for a while. So I'm gonna wrap this guy up as tight as I can. Make sure it's tight as possible. I have the grill here. I'm gonna raise it just a little bit. I want it to be about 5 to 6 seconds or so that I can hold my hand there. I'm gonna place it bone side down for like 2 to 3 hours. Set it and forget it. Just wash your charcoal. Keep it bone side down the entire time. The reason I do that is because the bones are gonna heat up. They're gonna slowly cook the meat, and we don't mess with any of the fat or the crust on the outside. So that's why we seared the outside, but the bone is gonna slowly cook this guy and get it super tender. It is going to retain all the moisture because it's fully enclosed, and it's gonna be super juicy. So, all right, let's throw this guy on. And just like that, I have both my beef ribs onto the smoker, onto the grill. I got my chimichurri ready to go. So now it's just about watching it, waiting for it to get perfect, and we'll be back making some epic sandwiches with these guys. South American style beef ribs are done. I'm gonna pull these guys off and let them rest. Look at that. Has a good little bark on it. I'm gonna let this rest for a little while. And then we'll slice both of them up. Okay, so let's build 2 different sandwiches with these beef ribs. I'm gonna melt some cheese. I'm gonna add a little skillet on. I have some spicy Gouda, freshly sliced. It's just gonna help break down the cheese better. Got those guys in. Let's let that melt, and then let's slice into some beef ribs. Cheesy. So we have both of our beef ribs done. We have smoked, and then we have the South American beef rib. Let's crack into both and see which one we like better. Could have had a better bark, be honest. But honestly, this looks really good. I'm curious to see how it stacks up against the South American. This thing is tender. Oh, lost a rib already. So there is a little bit more of a darker bark over here, but this guy is so tender, braised. All right, let's slice into him. You don't even need to, like, look at that. That's wild. Man, dude, this thing, juicy. Let's try the smoked. Look at that ring. I know everybody's gonna be mad at that I'm squeezing it, but it's the only way I can really show you like just how juicy it is. But look at that ring. I love smoked rings. They're so good. Again, I could say it could have a better bark, but that looks really good. There is a very famous restaurant in South America that I can't remember the name of. They have this tradition where they cut steaks with spoons because somebody complained that it was not tender enough, and the chef came out and cut it with a spoon. Let's see if we can do it with this guy. Wild. Yeah. I mean, come on. That is so good. That's really good. It's like firm, but tender all at the same time. I don't know which one's the winner. This one is definitely more smoky. It like adheres to the garlicky flavor a lot more. Whereas this guy just like melts in your mouth. Super duper tender. This is really unique. I definitely think it works on a sandwich. This one stands alone by itself. So if you want beef rib to just stand alone, smoke it. If you want to like add it onto a sandwich or do something fun with it, I would definitely do the South American style. This guy has a little bit better flavor if I'm being honest, but this is way more tender. I don't want to judge which one's the best because I think I'm the winner here, that I get to eat beef rib. Okay, so let's build 2 different sandwiches with these beef ribs. So we have the barbecue smoked beef rib sandwich. We have some of my honey fire barbecue sauce and pickles, dill pickles on top. And then we have the South American style cooked beef short rib, melted cheese and chimichurri over the top. Let's try them out. Beef rib. Wow, that's really good. Sweet, smoky, a little tangy from the pickles. Now, let's try the South American. That is incredible. That was so good. Oh my gosh. I would have to say the beef ribs by itself, the smoked ones are my favorite. The sandwich though, the South American, without a doubt. Go and check out some of our favorite smoked and South American style beef rib recipes linked in the description below, as well as make sure to go and hit that subscribe button and buy some of our seasonings, my barbecue sauce, all that stuff will be linked down below as well. And as always, stay so freaking delicious. Cheers.